So, welcome to the first episode of Ancient DOS Games Shareware Edition. And quite fittingly, for the first game of the first episode, it's actually a CGA title. So, if we take a look at the directory here, this is a game called Motor-Mania. Somehow fits in a COM file. It's only 21 kilobytes. But yeah, so this game here, using color monitor, yes. So yeah, this, at first glance, is going to give you the impression that it's going to be some kind of motorbike racing thing. It's actually kind of like an Excitebike clone. And it's surprisingly not that bad. Although there are some quirks to it. Anyways, change keyboard keys just so we can get the keys going that we want here. Up, down, left, right, slow speed, fast speed. Okay. And then it actually supports 2 players as well, but we're only going to be playing it ourselves. Now it says select track set, but unfortunately, you can't. Yeah, it says demo version at the top there. And I have played this a little, as you can see, but yeah, the trouble with this demo version is there's actually not a lot to it. I mean, it says right here, make your own tracks. That doesn't work either. So if we go to start game, it says race entry, player number 1, and it shows like a whole bunch of different race possibilities here, but the reality is, this is all there is to it. It's just this single, almost like a time trial. So yeah, it plays just like Excitebike, except there's only 3 lanes instead of 4 lanes. And the other trick is that if we go at this speed, we are going to lose. Because yeah, the way Excitebike worked on the NES is that if you never use the turbo feature, then you're not going to have you're not going to have a good time, but you're not going to be so bad that you're just going to completely lose. At least, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't actually own Excitebike, but actually we got 4th place there, so that's not super terrible. But yeah, the whole thing centers around actually using your turbo, right? So you use the turbo and you go a lot faster, but you might overheat. So the trick I find with this one here is you want to use your turbo specifically with when you're going over the big jumps. But then at the same time though, the thing I've noticed is that you actually slow down mid-air in this game if you let go of the turbo mid-air, which is kind of weird, but... And yeah, there's not actually that much to this first track here, so... Whoops, overheated. Well, that's going to affect the time in a bad way. We passed the end, and yeah, we still only got 4th place there. Only did, like, slightly better. I blame the overheat. So yeah, it seems like the way it works is that it wants you to be holding turbo a lot, but then going back to normal speed, and it's just designed in such a way that you really just have to keep switching between the two, and that seems to work it out better than just trying to go for straight one or the other at any points. And yeah, I got 4th place again. The funny thing is, I've gotten 1st place in this at least once before. So I don't quite remember how I did that. Because it's not like I play any differently any of these times, so... I mean, I guess I should show what happens if you, like, wipe out. So if you hit something badly, your racer kind of dives around a bit, and then you have to hit the button rapidly to get back to your bike. So nothing too outrageous going on with that mechanic, but yeah, the full game's supposed to have, like, different racers on the tracks, and it's supposed to have a lot of different tracks, and then you're supposed to be able to build your own tracks, but unfortunately, that full game seems to be lost to time. And that's part of the reason for doing this Ancient DOS Games Shareware Edition videos, is because I want to be able to showcase these old games that have been very forgotten. Like, sure, this is just a ripoff of Excitebike, but the thing is, it came out in the late 80s. Like, if you were using an IBM PC at the time, or a clone PC, then this would be, like, one of your only ways to experience this game if you didn't have an NES. Not to mention, you could technically bring this to the office and then play it on company time. Is there a boss screen? If I hit F1? No, there's no boss screen. This game should have definitely had a boss screen. But yeah, because the full version is pretty much unobtainable anymore, it means that this is the only sort of demonstration we're going to see of this game. because I normally want to do like the proper full releases of games on Ancient DOS games. So that's another part of the reason for starting ADG-se, so that we can take a look at these old games that otherwise would continue to go unknown. And yeah, after a bunch of attempts, that seems to be the best I can do this time around. I know I've done better, but I don't understand the logic of how. So this game, Snaker, is kind of an interesting one. As you can see, it's a bit of a early 90s, approaching mid-90s. And this one's, it's like a typical Snake game, but with some differences. And if we could quickly go into the setup here, we can see it's got some interesting options, but nothing too outrageous. But if we go into the help screen here, like I was saying here, this is a new implementation of the classical snake-eating apple concept. The basic idea is that you gain strength from eating things and decrease it by moving around. When you've eaten a certain amount of apples, a door to the next level is opened. If you eat a pear, your strength will be totally restored and you'll get a bonus of 800 points. You die if you have no strength left or if you walk into a wall, yourself, or a closed door. And something important to note about this game is that you get 1 life. No continues. So I don't actually know how far this shareware version goes because I've never been able to get past the second level. The difficulty ramps up pretty quickly, and I should point out the controls are delayed, so that doesn't help things. But yeah, one of the other things that's difficult about this game is that you can't actually see the full field. So you're constantly moving around, losing strength, trying to figure out where is the apple that you need. Like right now, I have no idea where it is. Okay, there it is, like the one place I didn't look until right now. So yeah, running out of strength is very possible in this game because of how... Oh, I got very lucky there. But yeah, because of how you have to keep searching around for the apples, because they're not all on screen. Like typically with a Snake game, you see the entire screen all at once. But this one decided to scroll things. Okay, and there's the exit right there, so we'll go through there. Get our strength counted up as bonus points, and then we move on to the next level. And as you can see, this next level, we're already dealing with single space things we gotta move through. And again, given that the controls are delayed, not easy to get through the single space things. Also, where the heck is the apple? Oh, oops. Yeah, my fingers did not react quickly enough to deal with that. And yeah, as I said, 1 life. So, yeah. Okay, well, at least this time it's started me right near the apple, so easily get to see that. If I can get it. Freaking delay in the controls. But yeah, the way the delay works is you always move... Right, it's actually really hard to explain. It's like... The delay is timed in such a way that as soon as you move into a space, you need to instantly hit the key if you want to turn. If you wait a moment before you hit a button, then instead of turning on the space you're on, how did... then stuff like that happens. I meant to... as soon as I saw the pear, I wanted to go for it, but the thing is, because I was heading for... although one good thing is that the controls do get buffered. So, if you push, like, multiple directions at this, like, not at the same time, but, like, in sequence, the game does buffer them appropriately. So, you can easily do turns, but the trick is you still have to account for the delay in the controls. Okay, I need 2 more apples, and then the exit will open. But, again, the way this board is laid out, it is really... Oh, it's all the way up there. Oh, I don't know if I... Yeah, see? Freaking delay. I expected to move on the next tile, and I didn't. There's a couple things I could think of, which would make this game considerably more playable, which really should have been done. The first I can think of is you really needed a way to figure out where the apples are without being able to see them. Because I get the whole scrolling mechanic was like a new idea for how to make this game, how to put together a Snake-like game. But that scrolling mechanic inherently makes it difficult to tell where you're supposed to go. So having some kind of indicator to let you know the general direction an apple is in would be the simplest thing to do to increase the quality of the game. And another thing I can think of is the graphics. Like, the graphics have some gradients going and some 256 color stuff, but it's actually surprisingly hard to tell the difference between the walls and the floor. So one thing the author could have done to make those graphics better in that sense, so that it'd be easier to tell everything apart, is adding some 3D effects to the walls. And I don't mean 3D in terms of like isometric or anything like that. I mean like just add some depth to the wall in a sense, like have like a lower section, kind of like how they do in like the Dragon Quest games. Because that's a good example that a good early example I can think of that does that kind of stuff with the graphics. Okay, at least I get to, well, I have to work it around like that, but at least I get a pair here to get my energy back. So that gives me enough energy to get to the exit without any problems. And this will be my first time clearing the second level, because this game is so freaking hard. Okay, I say it's so freaking hard, but the reality is I've played harder games than this. It's just, it's hard for the wrong reasons. Okay, so this is my first time seeing the third level, and oh, this is decided to double down on the on the single tile wide stuff. Geez, I gotta do a single tile. The exit requires me to do a single tile turn. With the delay in these controls not being 100% consistent, I'm worried. Okay, I'm really starting to run down on health here. Hopefully I can get the rest of these apples without too many issues. I did notice that... Oh, geez, I just noticed the apple count is going up every level by extreme amounts. I mean, it started at just 5, and now we're up to, what, 10? Jeez. I have no idea where this last apple is, or if there even is a pair shown up. It's got to be down here somewhere. There it is. Do I have enough strength? Just barely. Oh boy. And again, I have no idea where the apple is. I'm going to run out of strength. And then that's it. Game over. Because you have to search for the apple. It doesn't give you enough strength to search for the apples. Okay, so the first level requires you to find 5 apples. Now this next level I think was like 6 or 7. It's 7. And you know, that's the other thing too. Even though this game was only sold, like the registered version was only sold for $10, I can easily see why people wouldn't have bought this game, just by nature of the fact that it's too hard. Like, if you want to sell a shareware game, then you have to make sure people can at least beat the shareware content, because if they can't, they're not going to have a reason to purchase more content, to play more of the game, if they can't finish playing what they've already downloaded for free. Second attempt at level 3 coming up here. Maybe I'll actually survive, but level 3 requires 10 apples. Okay, well, so far these first 3 apples are in relatively close spots. Although I don't like where this apple is, because it's all the way in the corner, which means sketchy timing. But I did get it. So now I gotta figure out where this next apple is. It's either gonna be down in this section. The thing is, I knew I made a mistake, but I tried to correct it, but the delay kicks in, and there you go, you're dead. So yeah, that was Snaker. It is an extremely difficult Snake game for all the wrong reasons. So, I mean, worth checking out, but probably not worth playing for very long. And then this last game for today is kind of an interesting one. So it's called Alien Alley. If we try to look at the directory of contents here, though, we're going to see there's 174 files for what is one of the simplest games I've seen in a while. Yeah, there are a ton of files here, and that's because this is actually part of a larger package, which has a whole bunch of other things with it, because this was like a programming exercise in a book. So I can demonstrate this a little. If we go into the editor here and open up the readme.txt, so if we actually go down here, it says it's part of a book called PC Game Programming Explorer. At least I think that was, yeah, PC Game Programming Explorer. And it's basically, this is something that you would actually program yourself by going through this book and learning all the details about this. Like, it's showing the contents here of how to do a bunch of programming stuff. And then part of the reason why all the files are here that would have come with the book as well is because it says right here in the README, make as many copies of this archive as you want, so long as you keep all the files together and don't sell it. So there you go. That's why this has always been freeware here. But of course, the problem here is that if we start looking for batch files and executables, it's a little difficult to figure out what you're supposed to do. Actually, what you're supposed to do is set up the sound drivers first, because it's actually, you can see DOS4GW right there, but also, believe it or not, if we look for the batch files again, and we go to setup, it's actually using the Digipack sound driver, which means it supports a ridiculous number of sound devices. But anyways, let's actually play it. I believe it's the executable file we want, Alien Alley. There we go. So Coriolis Group Books presents a Dave Roberts production and Alien Alley. Isn't there supposed to be music right now? Maybe when I cancel it out of the setup, it didn't actually do that properly, but we'll see. So, keyboard controls. Oh yeah, there's absolutely no sound effects. Okay, give me a second. Okay, take two. Coriolis Group Books presents Dave Roberts I can't speak tonight. There's the music. Okay, so very basic title screen here. Shows some credits. Has keyboard, joystick, mouse, and high scores table. So we're just going to hit keyboard controls. And here we go. We're a little ship. We can move around. And there's enemy ships coming at us. And we fire with the spacebar. You only fire one shot at a time, so you have to keep mashing spacebar to keep firing. Then at the bottom of the screen, we have shields gauge. We have the title of the game. We've got a score counter that goes up by 10 points every time we kill an enemy. And that's literally it. There is nothing more to this game. You've got that scrolling background, you've got that one kind of enemy attacking, and you can fire your own shots, and you can take a few hits before you die, but... Okay, I took a hit there. Yeah, there's literally nothing more to this game. It is this simple, and yet had all of those files included because it was part of the book that was explaining how to actually make this game from scratch on your own accord. Now, naturally, I don't actually have the book, and I haven't read any excerpts from it or anything. But given what's going on here, we can make a few assumptions about what's going on, because the book is clearly, given the fact that DOS4GW is present, the book is clearly encouraging some level of advanced game design, because normally you wouldn't need DOS4GW for something this simple, but DOS4GW very much is required if you're going to be making games that use extended memory. And you would need extended memory to make things that were more complicated than this. So it's basically giving the budding developer a better starting point, as it were, to be able to develop more advanced things once they get the hang of how to make something this simple. And then the other thing to consider too is it is actually encouraging the use of third-party tools and drivers and stuff for things like sound and music. Because sure, you could program that yourself, but it's not easy. Having tried to program Sound Blaster stuff by hand myself, yeah, there's a reason why a lot of people went for the third-party drivers and stuff, or the third-party APIs for accessing sound cards, because they just couldn't be bothered. There's so much that goes into doing proper sound mixing and everything. Like, that's something that's easily forgotten because of how ubiquitous the Sound Blaster cards were, is that early Sound Blaster cards, up until, like, the ones that were only compatible with Windows systems, didn't actually do any mixing. So that meant there was one sound channel on that Sound Blaster. So to get multiple sound channels, you had to mix them manually. Yeah, thinking about it now, my mind's kind of wandering a little. It's a little crazy just how well the Sound Blaster cards did when they were technically the less advanced card, when compared to stuff like the Gravis Ultrasound. But then at the same time, because the Gravis Ultrasound was more advanced and doing stuff on its own, you were also more limited by what its hardware capabilities had. Whereas the Sound Blaster cards were only limited really by the RAM the computer had. But yeah, as you can see, there's nothing more to this game. It's just incredibly simple, but it is playable for what it is. And the fact that this is something where people were being encouraged to make it from scratch, with the aid of a book that was stepping them through the whole process. Like, it's got proper keyboard controls, there's no BIOS keyboard handler in here. And it's got the music and sound going, it's got the graphics going, like, yeah, it's an incredibly simple game, but people learned how to make it. And then they could learn to go beyond this game. I guess I should probably just end this by showing what happens if you die. Running into a ship is instant death. And then all you do is you put in a high score and there you go. And then one last thing to mention here in regards to Ancient DOS Game Shareware Edition. This is kind of going to be an outlier of an episode because so far a lot of the games that have been nominated by Patreon supporters are more complex games than these. But I wanted to showcase these 3 games just to give a taste of the kinds of stuff we could be looking at. Because so many of these games, there's just no reason to ever do a full Ancient DOS Games video on them, but they're out there, and it would be nice to give some attention to these simple things that just don't get attention, right? But yeah, going forward, we're going to be looking primarily at Patreon nominations. I'll be putting my own games forward every so often as well, and the length of the episodes, I'm aiming to make them at least 12 minutes long each time, longer depending on what the games are. So yeah, look forward to more relatively unknown stuff like this, and maybe some stuff you've heard of, or maybe some stuff we just simply hadn't gotten around to on ADG and might do it someday. Or maybe stuff we have gotten around to that happens to be different in the shareware version. We'll find out as we go forwards.